AI coding tool this week as rival Anthropic's Claude code continues to gain traction, add some new features too. Our Deirdre Bosa has been hands-on with Claude for a few days now and has more in today's Tech Jack. Hey, Dee.
Hey, Carl, good morning. So OpenAI is playing catch up here because it's been win after win for Anthropic's Claude Code over the last few weeks, as I've been talking all about it. With Cowork, Claude made it possible to build fully functional apps with just a few prompts. Now with its Excel integration, anyone can do the work of a financial analyst with just a few prompts. Now, we all, as CNBC anchors and reporters, we pour through sell-side notes on the daily. But with Claude and Excel, I could get at exactly the insight that I was looking for. Key assumptions, sensitivities that matter, bull and bear cases, all without digging through 20 or 100 pages of someone else's framework. Now, for Alphabet, the question heading into earnings is the AI tax. AI search queries, they cost more to serve than traditional ones. And with AI mode, Google is serving them to 1 billion plus users. The big question is whether AI search expands or quietly erodes the business. So I asked Claude to build a scenarios tab that you're looking at it right now. It shows the bull, bear, base cases that I can toggle between by just writing bull or bear in that cell. In less than 10 minutes, I had this analysis. You can see exactly where AI costs start to pressure margins, how much revenue has to grow to offset it, all without touching a single cell to build this. Now, with another prompt, Claude gave me this takeaway showing that the best case versus worst case gross income. Now, guys, this does beg the question, why hasn't Microsoft or Google built this into Excel or Sheets itself? Now, legacy tech, one reason maybe it's because they're layering AI on top of old foundations, the sort of innovator's dilemma, whereas Anthropic is AI native. It's actually rebuilding how these tools get used. So it's not just formatting, it's not just looking and calculating, but it's reasoning with the numbers in the spreadsheet. Guys, I know that this sounds wonky, but it does point to a real shift. AI is moving from something that most people chat with to something that you can actually build with. I mean, even without coding or Excel skills, I'm creating stuff that used to require a whole team or very specific training. So we'll see what OpenAI unveils today, but the race, it is no longer about who has the best chatbot, and that is going to lead to a very, very interesting year ahead in the industry and for us as users.
Okay, thank you, Deirdre. There was a lot of discussion of Claude 3 at Davos last week.
And the more and more these type of revelations are coming out, right, in terms of what is capable, right, from these AI systems, you start realizing to yourselves that the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless. Is it frightening to an extent? Like, can we see why people are, worried? 1000% would be absolutely ridiculous and, an asinine argument to ask why. It would be an asinine question to ask why people are scared or a bit worried by the potential takeover, right, of AI when it comes to people's jobs. Like this woman just mentioned here, accountants, what is the need for, hiring an accountant and so forth when Claude is able to do this? But you need to see the opportunities here, right? When people use these instruments, what they're not realizing is it's giving you the opportunity to now build your own. So let's say you are someone that you find an issue, right, within your business or maybe a company that you work for, and it's a constant issue, and it's just always making work hard. It's causing friction, right, between the identification stage to the solution stage. It's always friction. It's not essentially allowing for seamless operations. Well, this is where you have all the opportunity right now to build. Whether people recognize it or not is the question right now. What people aren't doing is people aren't using this as practice enough. And that's where we're going to really land on, right? Practice makes perfect. If you keep using this, keep using it and keep using all these systems, all these AI systems, is going to reshape your thinking. It would 1000% reshape your thinking. But people are not viewing it from that standpoint of, if I can become an expert at using this, then why would I need to ever ask, or, want to, get a job or stay where I'm at if I've been able to learn enough that I now know how things operate. AI is giving birth to almost potentially the opportunity for people to be able to just go through what is known as traditional education. They can now just go through digital education and tell the AI, please present these modules to me, right? These seminars, whatever you may prefer, right? Present them to me as how a lecturer would, right, from a top university, right? But do it in a way where I want to be able to learn. You might be a visual person, right? You might want it to always use analogies. The possibilities are endless. I don't like we don't want to go too much, down a rabbit hole or digress, right? But we look at people that maybe are wanting to ensure that their children are going to the right schools and so forth. Well, this is where parents that are that much involved and care that much about their children's development. Well, this is where you can tell AI to set up a curriculum for you. A curriculum that that this is what they need, things that's going to benefit them in life, right? On the flip side as well, right? You need to also realize that yes, it could limit them, right? Because they might not get that social interactions, which might limit it might stunt their social calibration, right? But these are things that you're going to have to essentially fight through, because humans, we've always had to fight through things. It shouldn't really be too much of a barrier or too much of a hurdle to jump over if you're using them. But it's going to be a massive. You basically can't compete if you're not using these. If you're not using these tools, that's just the thing there. If you're not using these tools, you are going to struggle, and you really can't blame anybody else but yourself, because a lot of them are here right now, free for you to use, gain an understanding. Is those that are going to be using them that are going to be further ahead than others, right? And this is where we just don't want people to freeze and just absolute fear. Go out there and use them. Let's see what others are saying about this. Let's go.
The finance industry, and according to the report, AI and agentic AI could have a bigger impact on the economy and finance than the internet era. That's saying a lot. Let's get more on this from one of the authors of the report, Sophia Bentonides, future of finance analyst at Citi. Sophia, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to cover our report.
Let's talk a little bit about what exactly agentic is. Everybody's just getting used to saying AI, and now we're adding agentic to it. What is it, and how will it change AI?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The quick answer, and I have 3 words for you. Agentic AI is generative AI plus action. Agentic AI is the do-it-for-me technology. It sets a goal, it plans a task, it takes action, and it adapts to feedback. This is very interesting in the financial services space. Let me give you an example in the payments area. It can take steps to resolve a problem or an issue with a payment where there has been a payment error. An agent can go through an autonomous workflow. It can go through your unstructured data, cross-check things, confirm where the mistake has been made, amend the payment mistake, submit it for approval, and log it in the audit trail. That's agentic AI. It builds on generative AI. And because we have generative AI, we are able to have agentic AI. Generative AI is the create-it-for-me technology. Agentic being the do-it-for-me technology. Of course, AI as a branch, as the umbrella term, we have had for years in financial services. We've had machine learning AI, traditional AI, since I believe it is 1956. That type of technology works very well on structured data. But most data we have in financial services is unstructured. And that's why generative AI and its sister or cousin, Gen AI plus action, agentic AI, is very interesting for financial services. And that's why we wrote a big report about it. Agentic AI, finance, and the do-it-for-me economy, publicly available.
So, all in a roundabout way, I mean, when they're using, the term generative and, agentic, just to make it very simplistic for people, is, generatives pretty much it's all in the terms, right? Generative. So you're generating something, right? You go there and you say, I want you to do this for me. Give it a prompt, it generates it, right? Agentic is, again, it's in the word agent. If you just stop there, you'll realize you'll get exactly what they're trying to say here. Agentic is essentially an agent, right? And you tell it to go do something for you, and that agent can now maybe delegate tasks to other agents, right? And this is where things become really powerful. It's essentially, when you look at it from the financial standpoint, it's almost agents are, it's like a compounding effect, which is absolutely ridiculous, because you will tell one agent to do something for you. I want you to go and build a report for me and so forth, and once it does that, it might need to do other tasks. It will then delegate these tasks to other agents, and it'll tell it, you do this, you do that, you do that. And this is where agentic is, and why is this so effective? Well, the effect this has is that if you're telling one agent to do something and telling it to do too much, right, it might be doing so much jobs that things can be diluted, right? It might start generating information or reports, and it might mix information or data together, right? Which is obviously not good, because again, this is dilution. It's not necessarily isolating what it's finding. It's not isolating the data, which is could be quite disastrous, especially if you're actually running a massive, like a massive operation. You need to be careful, right, in those senses. So this is why when you use agentic AI is essentially going to realize where it needs to delegate tasks to avoid dilution, right? Because many times you'll see you could say in the traditional ways, when we try to create stuff or do reports, or maybe run up a system and so forth, you'll find maybe corruption, you'll find something not going through properly, and that's because the systems we're using are not as intellectual, are not as intelligent. And there's where AI comes in, and AI is, again, for those that are using this right now, are far more ahead than others, right? Where they're utilizing these systems to build businesses without even having to have different departments now. You don't need to have different functional departments to build it. It's the AI is the department, right? And the AI will bring in other AI agents to help it build, right? And working in isolation, like ensuring that you're separating very minute departments, separating them and cutting them off from each other, will ensure that you're getting pinpoint accuracy. That's something that it will be very hard for humans to do, and this is why AI is becoming so prominent within the business world, right? But not only that as well, when you look at mentioning it, bringing it in with finance as well, and okay, so you have these systems, how are you paying the AI? Because people think it's free. Obviously, it's not free. So people are asking, how will AI pay AI? And this is where you got digital assets coming in. People are always maybe shunning assets like crypto, seeing it as, people still see it as internet fake money and things like of this nature. But what they're not realizing is that these are going to be the forms of payments. So how human beings remunerate other human beings through traditional fiat, these agents, right, these AI agents will be compensating their agents through digital assets. It's not going to be through fiat. So here's where essentially looking into, we're not saying investing, because this is not financial advice, but looking into crypto, right, and having access maybe to the information at least will let you know whether you want to get into it. Because if you now start wanting to build your own business, well, building the business, you're gonna have to maybe start making payments here and there, and fiat won't, it just won't be sufficient enough at some point. So these are the type of things we need to really be looking at, right? Really be reading up on, to knowing where we want to essentially where we want to spend our time, right? Where things, what things that do we need to adopt, what information that do we need to learn that will help us in this new economy, this new paradigm shift that's happening that we don't think many people are ready for. But this is where we come in. You know, we're always trying to ensure that people are knowledgeable. People are knowledgeable and people are getting the right information. So, guys, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the FinTech Report.